How y'all doing again? Real estate the hard way again. Today, just try to like, subscribe, comment. I'll try to improve the videos. I think everyone's looking for better content, and that's what I'm working on. Step by step, it'll get better. I promise you. I'm putting a lot of time into it. I'm trying to focus on the content, but bear with me. It's gonna get better. If y'all want different information, I can try and do that. One of the things I want to discuss is buying a home versus renting. When we are trying to buy a home, we have an idea of the American dream. The American dream for us is home ownership, being in a place that you feel is yours, a place to raise your family, your children. Hopefully you want all the bells and whistles, right? You want to walk into a home, you want to be able to feel yourself in it, it to be in a situation you feel like you're comfortable and you can grow your family in there comfortably and you can envision yourself in it. One of the things you have to think about while you're trying to own a home, is it feasible financially? Why do I consider financially important? Because you're going to be living for 20 years, 60 years, 50 years, 100 years, who knows when. But when you make a purchase, you want to be able to get through the rough times and be able to figure out solutions in case you want to sell. If you're in a community, if you look around your community, you'll be able to tell if the house values are increasing or decreasing. If they're increasing, most likely it means that people are wanting to live there. Jobs are coming there, people are coming there. One of the big failures of let's say a city such as Detroit, I can go to Detroit right now and I can get a place that's cash flowing. Low price, and I can get it possibly today where I rent it out and I'm making money on that. But the problem is it might continue to depreciate, right? If it continues to depreciate, your house value is dropping while you're renting it out, your rents are probably going to drop too. So one of the big things to check if you want to start traveling around is house values. But the rule is to check the rent versus price ratio. The smaller that is, the better it is to rent. The higher it is, the better it is to buy. Well, actually, I'll take that back. The higher number it is, you're going to be forced to rent, right? The higher rent to price ratio, the higher that ratio is, it means that house values are high. So if you have a 50, let's say for 50, you had a 50 rent to price ratio, it means in your locality, in your neighborhood, that house is priced so high, the rents are not covering the mortgage. The rent to price ratio is the value of your home subtracted by the average rent in that area, right? So you have to think the ratio that you see right now in most places, most big cities, it could be, it could be in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. A good ratio could be 11, 15, 17. But think about it. When you look at that, it's better to take to rent in a place with a high price to rent ratio. If you're trying to be financially feasible, if you're going to go in, if you're already in, let's say, LA or DC, it might be just better to rent, but always remember, you're renting, which what gives you what? It should give you money left over. So if the mortgage is there about $7,000, right? Let's say $7,000 mortgage, or let's say $5,000 mortgage, a round number, and your rent is $2,000. And let's say you couldn't cover the $5,000 mortgage, or if you could cover it, what you want to do, you want to make sure that $2,000 is allocated into S&P, an index fund, or another asset that's going to give you growth year over year. And why do I say that? Right? If we're not in real estate, we need to be in the stock market or a business, something that's going to turn out. But a low risk avenue has always been the S&P 500 versus real estate. These things you could recommend to someone without having too much downside, right? Even though you might not make the kind of returns a business would make, or your product would make, or your job will make, putting $1,000 into the S&P, if you look at the 60-year history, you would have close to $500,000 in 20 years. I know over the course of 20 years, what's $500,000, but in the course of 20 million, if things didn't work out for you, you have $500,000 waiting for you on that end, right? And I'm not saying that put all your eggs in that basket, but what I am saying is when you look at The rent to price ratio, the reason you're looking at that is because you're trying to be financially feasible. You can always take your money out of the S&P and put it into other products, but what's the best decision, to spend your money on a house or you're spending money on rent? Usually, if the house appreciates, right, if that house continues to appreciate, some people thought San Francisco and DC and New York would never go past $1 million. In New York, you can have stuff 2 million, 3 million. And people are still out there. People are still buying, finding ways to do it, right? And the government itself will turn that 60-year mortgage to 30-year mortgage into a 60-year mortgage, right? So I can never really say that it's not the best thing to buy. Buying it and being able to hold on to the house for long enough, you will have that house in that highly desired location, even though you're going to pay double or triple the amount. You're going to lose that money financially, but if that appreciation continues and inflation continues, you can still make majority of your investment back, right? You might make 50% back, 75%, depending on how much interest you're paying. You have to look at that model. As you look at the interest model, if you can rent, right? If renting that same house, let's say that $5,000 mortgage house, renting that same house is $2,000 or $3,000. There's $2,000 that you've saved. And not only have you saved that, you save taxes, insurance, repair, maintenance. All these things become your job as a homeowner to take on, right? But as a renter, you're saving. But what we do when we rent a place, now what we do, we have $3,000 to spend, $4,000 to spend. Let me go out and watch the ball game. Let me go out and eat somewhere, buy myself some new clothes, buy myself some jewelry. And what you've done is you've taken your financial good decision, and right after that, you made a bad decision, right? It's kind of like when you play the market, your first initial decision was well thought out. You're like, yo, let me come in. The price is low. Price goes against you. All of a sudden, you hesitate. You make a bad decision. But in life, we make a lot of bad decisions. You save. You might get that Diet Coke, but they end up getting a 5-piece chicken with a Diet Coke, which is destroying the Diet Coke, right? So I'm not saying not to splurge, but out of that $3,000 mortgage that you didn't have to pay, right? Out of that $5,000, you didn't have to pay $3,000. So you want to take that $3,000, part of it or most of it, and you want to put it into the S&P or another product or save it in the bank for the future.